Welcome to Player Driven and Happy New Year. As we head into 2026, I'm setting the goals really high to continue to grow Player Driven, the community, and the platform. 2025 was a year of building the foundation. We focused on frameworks, conversations, figuring out really what Player Driven is and what it can become. And this year, we're now going to build on top of that. From best practices shared from some of the brightest minds in the industry to the tips and lessons coming directly from the community, a lot of the best insights already exist around us. The more we share them, the clearer the possibilities become. Our Discord has been growing and we'd love for you to come join us. It's a space where we swap tips, talk shop, and honestly just connect over the things we care about. I'm excited to see that community continue to grow throughout 2026, and you can find the link to it in the show notes or at playerdriven.io. Today's guest is Chris James, the CEO of Steel Media. Steel Media is behind Pocket Gamer and Pocket Gamer Connects, the events happening and conferences happening all around the world. This year marks 20 years of Pocket Gamers, and they're kicking things off with Pocket Gamers Connects London on January 19th and 20th. In this episode, Chris and I break down what's working in the industry right now, why these important events still matter, and just get a ton of great insights that we can use. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. I hope you start this new year off strong, and we'll talk again soon. So maybe you could tell us the biggest mistakes that you see a media founder making when trying to build up their business.
Yeah, biggest mistakes. I think trying to do too much is definitely the thing. I think people trying to say they're going to be everything to everybody, and the reality is you should do one or two things really well.
How long did it take you to figure out what those one or two things you do really well are?
Still working on that. No, yeah, I don't know. I imagine. Yeah, I think we realized when we started trying to do this, we were coming out of Newstown Media, and we were doing magazines for Future Publishing and all the team, and we just wanted to start doing web. We didn't know we hadn't done websites before. This was a long time ago. This is 20 years, so not everybody was doing websites right in the same way at the time. And yeah, we just thought we'd be able to do loads of different ones, and we'd try loads of things out. And the reality is, tech is harder than you think always, and the internet is a gaping maw that never hungers for content. So I think we decided when we kind of dropped a lot of things and focused in on the Pocket Gaming consumer website when we started, and then yeah, that kind of that did quite well, and then we just saw we kind of built off that. We had a few other sites we launched at the same time. One was about other mobile stuff, and we had like 4 or 5 different ideas, and we've still got a couple of secondary sites. But yeah, once you see something getting traction and you're comfortable with it, and you can see where it can go, I think that's when you kind of try and I think that's pretty standard for most businesses. If you can try a few things initially, but really if you want to focus on being really good at a thing where you think there's an opportunity, and then once part of that gets traction, you just kind of then push against that, right? Um, I think is that useful advice? I don't know.
Hopefully, yeah. You've been doing this now 20 years. Congratulations, and we've
I
been
know,
talking throughout the
survivor.
podcast. Is there one moment that stands out as the hardest moment of running Steel Media?
Yeah, I think like any startup company, you go through times where you have to, you have to kind of cut cost, right? And you have to let some people go and shell some stuff. And we've definitely done that, like maybe twice over 20 years. Not like everybody, but there was a time when we weren't getting the senior staff weren't getting paid for a little while, and yeah, we come to the conclusion that we needed to really close down our burn rate, as the kids say nowadays, and you know, and yeah, we had to let a few people go we thought were really good. I think that closing projects for me personally is the thing I absolutely hate. I like open doors. I like positive possibilities and opportunities. And whenever you've closed something down, especially if you still think there was something in it, but you just can't find a way to make it viable. I think that's always difficult. But yeah, it'll be usually be related to letting people go, which we haven't had to do for quite a while now, and that's never great because you feel responsible for them, and and you obviously if you hire them, you think they're pretty good, so you don't want them to go. But yeah, That's probably the
Yeah,
hardest.
I was reading about this whole. It's not the best analogy, but I was reading about the sunk cost fallacy and how it's related to gambling. Sometimes when you're
Yeah,
gambling and you're so far deep into it, you don't want to give up, even if you know you have the losing hand. You're just gonna ride it out till you die. But the truth is, when you realize that you have a losing hand, even if you've already committed to a certain amount of money to it, sometimes it's better to just cut your costs there,
pretty
under the
losses. Yeah,
hay,
yeah,
right? Whether it be a service or a product or a feature that you're building,
yeah.
if you realize it's not hitting the mark, right? Even if you invested money into it already,
Well, it's like yeah, it's exactly. It's like shares, right? If your shares have gone below the price you paid, then that's bad. But they can always go lower, right? So, not that you should always sell share. I'm not. This is not financial advice, but yeah, exactly. Sunk cost value. You've got to try and think, and that's difficult about what's right for right now and what's and then the near future. And yeah, we're having to. You have to do that. You have to sometimes just go. Well, we really love this idea. We think it was cool, but we have to just shut it down. Maybe you can come back to it in the future, but probably you don't. So that is tough. Yeah, yeah, that's tough.
so one of the things you guys do at Steel Media is you have a football, soccer, as we call it here in the States,
Yeah.
based platform as well. And when we were talking on our pre-call, we were talking about football, football, football. I was wondering if you can say something nice about American football.
Uh, there's a lot of breaks in it. I know. I think it's very strategic. I kind of like it. I've been watching a thing called Chad Powers. Have you seen Chad Powers?
I've not watched it, but I'm very
You
familiar
should
with
see
it.
it. It's kind of crazy. I'm sure it is absolutely got nothing like American football at all. It's kind of a comedy thing, but yeah, I find that quite. I have watched. I used to watch the Dolphins. Dan Marino. That was when I used to watch it. So I just don't. I think it's yeah, it's a tactical game. It's just a strategic game played out with people, right? So
Can you tell me one trend you think going on in the industry right now that you think everyone's overhyping?
AI, it's going to go nowhere. That's
Nowhere.
not that's not true. That's absolutely not true. I think they did overhype Web3. I definitely felt, and I don't hate Web3. That was overhyped, and I could feel it at the time. It was overhyped. I think AI is different because it is having an effect right now, and you can see the way it can go, and it will have more of an effect. Maybe I don't know if they're underhyping. I think yeah. What's the trend? God, that's a good question. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to look beyond anything other than AI for overhype, underhype, every hype. That seems to be the one common thing that's coming up. I think one thing people are overhyping, and I don't know if it's a trend, but it's a discussion point. Is the negativity about the industry and in certain quarters, and the fact that the games industry is struggling. And I know that individuals are struggling. I know people are losing jobs, and that's awful. And a lot of people lost jobs. Um, but the industry, the games business, and video games is a growing art form. It's a growing business. The opportunities, the overall value is growing, and I think we've gone through some rough waters. But I think that when people over talk down, and that's the opposite to hype, I guess. That I don't like, because I think it's a self fulfilling prophecy, right? Because then if you're constantly a bit, oh, I'm not sure, and I'm not going to do this, and I don't think I can invest in that, and maybe we shouldn't do this, which is there are good reasons for all those things, but then that is infectious, and then the publisher or the developer or the investors all get on in this, and everyone's a bit, oh well, maybe it's a bit that kind of doom and gloom thing, which I think going back to not American football but America, I think one thing America's always good at is optimism, and whether it's absolute bullshit or whether it's genuine upbeat approach, and that whole fake it to make it thing, and just talking things up is something that the US is much better at typically, and I think the rest of the games industry needs to be, I think, a bit more like that at the moment, a bit positive. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful, but
Awesome. Well, welcome to Player Driven. Greg here. I am super excited about today's conversation. We are going to dive more into the world of conferences. And today we're talking to the CEO of Steel Media, Chris James. If you've ever been to a pocket game or event anywhere globally, they are put on by Steel Media, and I am super excited to dive into this. Chris has been running it for now 20 years. This is the 20th anniversary. Congratulations. And before we dive too deep into your full story, you want to say hi and do a quick introduction of yourself?
yeah, no, yeah, 20 years, man and boy. You get less for manslaughter, right? So it's yeah, no, 20 years been running Still Media, which it was consumer media and B2B media and pocket. So yeah, and before that, I was a journalist. This is actually kind of the third startup business I'm involved in. I was a journalist for Future Publishing. I didn't start that for many years. Did all the games magazines in the UK and some in the US, like Edge and PC Gamer and all that stuff. And then I co-founded a contract publishing agency, and then I worked there working for other people. I used to make Blockbuster Movies magazine. I used to in the UK. Blockbuster, remember that? That's
Love it.
aging me, right? That's definitely aging me. I remember when Netflix was a service which would send things in
Mhm.
a little envelope to your house, send DVDs. That's how old I am. But yeah, I know I've always loved a few things. I love the football and I love the games industry, and so I've tried to build careers around that. And yeah, 20 years ago, I left one company, sold out of that, and I got some friends together to start this. And yeah, it's gone pretty well. I mean, we're still here. You know, we're not. I'm not Elon Musk. Thank God. I'm not a billionaire. I don't have his money, and but we're still here. And I think that's, we must be doing something right. We're having some of our biggest years ever. We're giving a lot of people opportunities in the industry, and hopefully helping in terms of our company, but also hopefully helping the industry and supporting it as best as we can, wherever we can. So yeah, that's my
Yeah,
story.
it's something about those in-person events, being able to shake hands, to have a drink, chat with people that is a true difference maker. And I think, no matter what industry you go into, what time of day it is, we have Zooms, we have different ways we can connect with people, but there's still something about being in the room. We were watching the Game Awards last night and just watching people like be together, and it's such a difference maker. And you were a journalist that built up a media company that does conferences globally now, and that's so cool. And I'm curious, how do you know you're ready to take that first step? And the answer is going to be, you never know you're ready. But how do you find that motivation to push yourself to take that first step?
Oh, I think with me, it's probably the same with a lot of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs is a very fancy word, but a lot of business starters. Is that, frustration? Like I think it was born. I'd been doing, the reason I kind of left Future and to go into this contract publishing agency, who did these magazines for people like Sony Pictures and Blockbuster and various other people, PC World, Virgin, um, was because I was frustrated at a lack of progress within a particular company. I couldn't see where I was going to go, um, and I always wanted to do more. And then the reason I got into back into doing this was because I was frustrated because I wanted to be doing consumer media and not working for companies making things for them, like making things for companies for their own media. So I think frustration was a big driver. Yeah, nothing happens overnight either. You can make the decision overnight, but it took a while to persuade people to come in with me, because some people in jobs they gave up. I was in a job which I gave up. There was six of us when we founded it. Like six people is a lot to found a company with. That'd be a thing. That'd be a tip. Six is maybe too many. Is a discussion. I love all of them, but it became four quite quickly. Actually, it was within a year. A couple of people had decided it wasn't for them. But yeah, I guess how did I decide? Yeah, I was frustrated. I wanted to do more. I felt I could do more, and I wanted to have a go at it myself. And I thought, why not? And I think the why not, and not knowing the difficulties. I think because I came from some magazines before to websites. If I had years working in websites, I'd been less blah. At the time, it was a much younger web economy. But if I'd had more time doing that, I'd probably been a bit more cautious, because like I didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I think a lot of the time founders do that, where they launch into a thing they know a bit about, but they don't know everything. And partly that's why, because they don't know all the pitfalls, that helps to begin with. So yeah, bit of frustration, bit of naivety, yeah, and wanting to make a mark, I guess. So yeah.
This might be a hard question to ask in hindsight, but what were the skills you possessed at the time, and what did you quickly have to teach yourself on how to do better?
Um, yeah, well, that's a very good question, actually. I was within the company. A lot of us were creatives. Everyone's creative. We're all creative, little special little angels, right? Little stars. But no, we're all creatives. Like, we're writers or designers or sub editors or whatever. And there wasn't really a salesperson, so I had to become a salesperson, which I quite enjoy now. I don't write much these days, but someone had to. We realized we actually had to have money coming in, so someone had to go out there and do the business development and do the sales stuff. And so that was a skill I had to have. I think I was an okay journalist. I wasn't especially brilliant or bad, And I think what my skill that I had, and I think again this is useful for entrepreneurs, is kind of the ability to kind of see things a bit in the round and piece things to kind of gather. That's kind of how you see opportunities often, is that you see, well, this is already a big industry and that's a big industry and this thing's happening, but nothing, there's a big gap there. And just be able to see that, I could do this project with that client and we could do this, or I could, see that gap. I think that's something that I've realized as I've gone on is not as common. And the other thing I've realized isn't as common is the ability to think on the creative value side and on the sales side. Because usually people are very business or they're very creative and they don't want to get involved with the dirty business, or they don't want to get involved with all those creative idiots over there who want to make money. So being able to span those two, um, I'm not saying I'm exceptionally good either, but being able to span those two was useful, I think.
How do you which question do I want to ask? How do you continue to teach yourself and educate yourself on topics like this?
As in topics like, you mean the industry or
Well, I
doing?
guess, you talked about the sales side of things and having to educate yourself on sales, right? And I realize that
Yeah,
as we get older, it's harder to kind of continue that education.
I think, yeah, I would say what happens when you get older, and especially been doing the same company for a long time, and especially if you're quite senior when there's not a lot of other places to go, um, you end up getting more and more narrow in your focus, and so you get kind of good at what you're doing, but only within the very fine confines of your thing. I might be a terrible sales or business development person or CEO, whatever, in another company, but within what I do, I've got quite good at that. How do I think you train yourself by doing it. What I've tried to do, two things. I think one is just try and stay in touch with what's going on in the wider industry. Like I will always look at other people's events. I'll go to events as much as I can. I will be constantly on LinkedIn. Like I'm a LinkedIn junkie in the way that other people, maybe TikTok or whatever. I would just constantly scroll. I'll be doom scrolling, and that's not a healthy thing. But it just means that you absorb stuff and it goes in, and that helps. I don't know if it's training, but it helps me be aware of like stuff that's going on, and whether I should be concerned about it, or there's an opportunity, or whether it's just knowing it. Um, that's one thing. I think the other thing is doing new stuff, and that is, again, maybe that's the entrepreneur in me, or the creative in me, or whatever. But like, you know, the fact that we did a consumer website, we all agreed. The fact that we did the B2B website, I was kind of driving that. The fact that we did magazines for mobile phone operators to convince people how to download mobile games. That's how this is pre iPhone and everything, where it was a pain in the ass to get games and products on your phone. And so we worked with operators, and we had an incredible deal where our scores were, if you went to, I don't know, Vodafone, or what's the big
Verizon,
right,
AT&T.
Verizon. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, we're in Europe, not in the US, but
Yeah.
we went to Verizon. If you went to Verizon and saw, here's the games and here's Pocket Gamer scores next to it, that was incredibly lucky for us. It was a good deal, but it was like we were suddenly became really important, because like obviously if you give something 5 stars, then it's more likely to be downloaded. So what was my point? I've lost what I've lost. But yeah, doing different things. So yeah, I'm always trying to do, like, every year, try and do a couple of different things, whether that's try and branch out into a new area. Like this year, we're doing a transmedia summit and an apps business summit alongside Pocket Gamer Connects in London. So those are kind of new angles, or whether it's modifying the format and trying something different, like a new side of a fringe event, or whether it's going somewhere new. Like again, this year we're going to have, I'm sure we'll talk about, got 10 events going out, which is the most we'll ever have, and we've got a couple of new locations. So I'm particularly interested. We did Middle East last couple of years, a lot of experimentation in there, and now Asia, we're kind of up our Asian game at the moment as well.
You
So
must
that
have
keeps me fresh. I guess how I learn is by doing new stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, I
you
don't have any formal qualifications of anything. I wouldn't even get a journalist degree. I'm sure those are things. I didn't actually. I just
fake it
started
till you
working.
make it. Maybe you're American.
Yeah, I'm an English, exactly. Maybe I'm English literature graduate. That's what I had, and then yeah, just got a job at Future when I
Is
was there.
it is it wild to see how much the business has grown since you started it? You have a full website now. You have kind of gaming content on there along with the conference
Yeah,
stuff as well. Like,
it's
is it kind of wild to you?
that's an interesting point, because I don't look at it like that. Like like, have you got kids?
I do. I have
You
two.
do, right? So how you don't, like, day to day, you don't see how your kids grow as much as like when your like grandparents come or something, go, oh, he's like foot higher. It's a bit like that, isn't it? Like things just kind of, you don't see how you age, like, until suddenly you see a photo. like, yeah, I don't really reflect on it that much. I'm proud of what we've achieved. What I really like is when people that I've never met before go, oh, and I go and meet them, and they go, oh, you're Pocket Gamer. I go, okay, well, that's nice. I don't feel I should get that sort of response, but I appreciate it. Um, yeah, and I like the Halo. I'm kind of proud of the Halo we've built and the specific things. I think that we built the brand up to hopefully be trusted and to stand for something that's kind of championing the industry. I like anybody that's running an event, I'm also some or a business. I'm also someone that sees more the threats and the problems as much as the opportunities, right? You just or what you've done. You can't spend. I do spend a bit of time reflecting, but not much. You kind of have to keep looking ahead because there's always a new thing. I was a print journalist. Then print journalism, to be honest, that's not the business it was, right? And no, web journalism is not the business it was either. It's all now. It's short form video. It's podcasts. It's social media. It's at some point there'll be something else that comes along. It'll be like the thought channel or something that I mean, there's going to be something new. That this is the one thing I always kind of slightly comforts me when I think, God, look at these YouTubers. Is go, well, at some point they'll be going, God, look at these YouTubers, whatever this new thing
Yeah.
is, right? And because there will be something new, and it's relentless, the progress. Um, so yes, so am I happy about what we've done? Yes, and I'm it's great. I'm just happy we're still going and we can pay everybody and we're kind of growing. How far the industry's gone is amazing. Like the mobile games industry, especially, which is not everything we do, but it was where we kind of formed, obviously, Pocket Gamer, and that is incredible. From like things from it being so hard to make money at all, so hard to even get a game out and get people to download it, to have like if you made £1 million with a game back in when we started, that would be a huge success. Now people are passe about making $1 billion, and yeah, they spent a lot more to get there, whatever. But the fact that now 3 billion people are playing mobile phone games, the industry it's over $100 billion. It's the biggest part of the games industry. That is always a thing when I kind of I look at. I have this slide I do in my little intro for my conferences. I often do an intro and when I do, I don't do it every time, but when I do these kind of referential things, I might do it this year because it's 20 years. But looking back and talking a bit about the past, and I go, can you imagine what 100 billion? Can we even imagine what $100 billion would look like back then? And then I show this picture, this slide of a Zimbabwean $100 billion note, and I go, okay, it's less impressive than you think, right? But it was yeah. Anyway, so
Have you
I don't know if that answers
seen?
the question. I talk a lot.
No, but I love. I mean, with what you're saying in mobile gaming, right? Because mobile gaming transformed what the gaming industry is, right? It expanded what a game is. Did you see the different events that you host start to conform to different trends?
You're both hoping to educate the industry about new things, but also follow, right? Like it's a bit like being a YouTuber, right? Yeah. You want to feel that you're breaking a new game, but equally, you know, if everyone's playing FIFA and Fortnite and Roblox, then that's what you're doing because that's where the eyeballs are. So yeah, as an event organizer, like any sort of media type operation, because I do think events it's just a different kind of media, really. That you have to look at what people want to know about. They want to know about user acquisition, that the mobile UA and the marketing and the data side of that is so advanced. It was so insanely advanced. I kind of understand bits of it, but some of it there's always a new kind of sort of a tag word or code, sorry, a new slang was where it comes up. I've got no idea what people are talking about. They come and go, oh, you've got your CBDs and your TBOs, and I'm going, oh, I don't know what those things are, but yes, that sounds great. But there's always a new thing, and but it's there's a whole subset of the industry that's focused entirely on that, on the UA side of it, and the monetization and that rate of when you get a return and how you market cohorts and it's incredible how that happened. Like people you could get to a point where you could go, I want to promote this particular offer to 40-year-old women in Texas that have got to level 5 of Candy Crush, and my game's a bit like that. So I want to hit them with this offer, and you could. Apple changed that and made it a bit harder with some of the changes, but that stuff was interesting. So we covered a lot of that. Investment's always interesting. We're always interested by new technology, and the games industry. One of its real successes, and one of the reasons it's will always continue to flourish. I think is that it always tends to embrace new stuff. Like it's embracing AI. Most game studios I know are working with AI right now, but when a new bit of kit comes out, one of the first things is how can we get a game on it? Like people tried for ages to get proper games. Apple Watch didn't quite come out in the end, but phones, it's like, oh, how can we get a game on it? How, and I think it was to Steve Jobs' immense frustration that actually the things that made the most money his on his phones were not music, which he loved, but were games he didn't really understand. But games is already very good at co-opting that stuff, co-opting new technologies, and I think so. We'll always cover that, whether that's VR or the metaverse or Web3 or AI or whatever the next thing is. And so yeah, so I think in answer, are we shaped? We try and shape. We try and have a bit of forward-looking space, and then we try and we obviously follow what the key trends are, and I think you have to do that. You have to, people come, like I say, people come to our shows ultimately because they want to do business. That's our first thing, right? Our whole thing is built around a meeting system. We have multiple fringe events where people can, different types of people, investors and others, publishing developers, in media and developers, they can connect in different ways. And we have this central meeting system and hundreds of meeting tables because that is bringing people together and having meetings. Then you've got the talks, which educate people, and the expo where people can sell. But that is, I guess it's getting business done, connecting to do business, and then learning new trends, and then I guess kind of having a bit of fun as well. Like we do try and hope that we also is a fun thing.
I'm gonna mix these next two questions
Yes,
together and
please.
make it a two-parter. So I want to know why Pocket Gamer still matters 20 years later, and I'm curious if there's a specific Pocket Gamers events that you're excited about going to every year. Is there like a specific one?
Wow, why does pocket gaming still matter? Wow, God, do I? Why am I still here? Well, I think because the we matter. Why the event matters is because we are still trying to do what we've always done. We're trying to bring the entire games ecosystem together, or a cross section, not all of the people in the world, to, to share information and to connect with people they might not always meet as well. Which I think that's a key part of what we try and do. We try and make, like I say, it's not just about UA, and it's not just about C-level people or just about publishers. It's everybody from indie developers and students, all the next generations. I see them all the way through to the super wealthy investors and AAA CEOs. We want everyone to come in one place. So I think as long as we can facilitate that, I think we're relevant because I think, and I think that people want to meet as well. So that makes us relevant. I think people want whatever technologies you have, people will always want to meet face to face to do business. Maybe there will be a point where we have our robots doing it for us, or we're in the metaverse and we're doing it then. But still, there'll be some sort of contact. I think. I don't think that's. I think this will be one of the last dominoes to fall because there's a trust, and we're social animals, and I think that that face to face is going to take a while to be eroded. I don't think maybe it never will. So I think as long as we can continue to provide, you know, insight into what's happening now, help people improve their games business now, tell them about cool stuff that's coming down the track they might not have heard of, and help them connect with other people, then I think we're relevant. I think we're actually better now than we were when we started. I remember very clearly the first event. I remember people coming up to me going, "This is really great," and I was like going, "Yeah, it is," but there's 100 things I want to do better next year already. But I think there's still 100 things I want to do better, but I think we do the fundamentals really well, and I think I think we're getting better, and each iteration, I think we're kind of getting better at it, I guess. That's why I think it's relevant. And our biggest event is the event coming up in January is Book Game Connects London. We're expecting about 3,000 people this year. It's not as big as Gamescom, but it's the biggest one in the UK, and that's a lot of people. You're not going to meet 3,000 people in 2 days. You're not going to meet, it doesn't matter if it's 3,000 or 40,000 then. But we'll bring together a lot of the top names, companies in the ecosystem into one place with, like I say, the next generation of talent, and with this year people from the apps world. We've got people like kind of Duolingo coming in, and Booking.com, and I know there's loads of other people from apps. And then you got people, and in the transmedia, we've got Netflix and Epic talking about what they're doing, and some film studios and some musicians, and yeah, and we're bringing them together and creating that melting pot. I think London I'm excited about because it's big and because it gets a vibe. There'll be a point where I'm walking around and just it's just buzzing and like everyone's kind of hopefully happy, and I just get that zen moment, like it's like I'm yes, your kind of work here is done, right? And that doesn't happen usually until just a couple of hours in when we're just everything's just going and flowing and no stress anymore. And yeah, so that's exciting. I'm excited about that always. I always loved the London. That's my hometown. Barcelona is my second city. Love that as well. My wife's from Barcelona. We spent a lot of time there as well. I was so proud of putting it on. I put so much of myself into that last year when we launched it. And we got about 1,000 people, which is for a launch event is very good. I would say that, but we don't usually hit 1,000 always in the first time. That's not it's very uncommon, unless there's something else going alongside it. And yeah, and the vibe there was great, and I'm really looking forward to going back there. Helsinki also is also our longest running show, and we a lot of what we do we owe to Finland. So I'm always very grateful for the people of the Finns. You know, a lot of some of our model we took out of the what I saw at the Helsinki IGDAs, just the way that they were so open as a games culture, as a community, and that flat level of everyone just together in one place. You know, you'd see people like Ilka and Peter Vesterbacker talking to students or the competitors and showing them their games, and I always thought that was incredible. So yeah, excited about that, and also new ones. You know, we're doing a small thing in Malmo this year. It's a summit. We're doing one in Bangkok, which I've been trying to get going in Southeast Asia for a while. So yeah, it was going back to the Middle East. I like all of them, I guess. You know, I like all of my children equally. But yeah,
There's so much I want to talk about on what you said there, and I'll try and narrow it down to two things that really stood out to me. One is you didn't use these words specifically, but do you ever get over this idea of imposter syndrome? You know, you put on an event, you have a record number of people, and you still think to yourself, like, did I really hit the mark here? Like, can you get over that hump?
I that's a good imposter syndrome. Is I think everyone has imposter syndrome a lot of the time. You know, and I think it's a healthy thing. Like I go on. I tend to present a talk at the start of all of our shows. One day, maybe I won't, but I have done, and that's the thing I do. It's part of my preparation for the event as well, and also it gives me a chance to bone up on what I think is interesting in the industry. Um, and I also present our awards, which is much more work. So I have to try and be sort of funny in that as well, because like I'm replacing what should be a paid for comedian as me instead. But both those things, I find when I come on, I'm like really I get angsty before, and it's like the day before or the evening before was all really stressy. So I even and I've been done it, and I do similar things. You know, it's I that doesn't go away, and I think that's because you care about a thing. I don't think you ever if you I think if you were just constantly like confident or thought you just nailed it, I think that's probably the sign that it's all going about to go tits up. Pardon my French, I don't know why I said
No,
it's all about to go,
it's
wrong. Because
perfect.
I think that whole pride before a fall and everything. I think, and maybe it's a British thing as well, but we tend to be a little bit more self-effacing, maybe not as much as the Finns, but still. And I don't know, but imposter is an interesting one because I think having done it for 20 years, I kind of feel, well, yeah, we must have got something right. But it's also not me, right? This is the thing that I do try and make. It's my money, my face on the money. You've seen the money, right? Have you seen the money before?
I have not. Not
You've
that
not
I'm
seen the money.
remembering.
You've not seen the money. So there we have to show you this. This is our currency for drinks at the events, at Pocket Game events. People keep these. We've gone through a few different iterations, and people have them.
Nice.
So if you want to get a drink at one of our parties, you need a voucher. They get given out at the door, but then if you keep hold of them, you can come back to another one in the future and
You got
buy
your
as much
own
as you want.
in-game DLC or
It's,
in-game
it's, it's,
marketplace
it's,
here.
it's the only currency that's completely stayed. It's one token's one drink, right? So with inflation proof. Um, but yeah, but even though like you're interviewing me and we're talking about me, there's this whole thing. There's a lot of very talented people that work incredibly hard all the time to do it. From the design team with kind of like Jez and Paul and Dave on the manages the production. He's the COO at the moment, and our kind of events team is Karis and Eleanor and Joe and then Daisy and Charlie and Zhao, and there's hundreds of people. I keep on going, but there's a whole team that's really sort of making the magic happen and facilitating it. And I might drive it and try and make them do more, and try and go, hey, who needs time off? We can do another event. But I can't, without that team. If I was to stop this now and go and start a new business tomorrow, like I could have a stab at it, but and it probably wouldn't be awful, but I wouldn't be able to do what we do now because that's built that's a team that knows what they've been doing, that's built over many years, right? And people come and go, but the structure and the people generally have been around for a long time.
I
So
love that recognition of it, and this might be another one that you got to kind of tap into your memory bank here. But when you're a team of six or four, or however you want to look at it, and it's time for that first hire, do you look at a specific skill set, like and just for transparency, right? I'm looking at myself. I'm like, I can really use a community manager right now. That would
yeah.
be something that was helpful to spread the message. Were you looking at this like, hey, what is that first hire that will really move the needle for us?
Yeah, God, going back to I think was probably on the sales side we hired in first. Because when you're doing, it obviously depends what business you're in, right? But in media, you can get freelance writers. Like there's a big pool of people, and they're not really they're not hires because you're just going, I might pay you a certain amount a month, or I might pay you a certain amount for an article. But it's a very kind of, it's an agreement that can be stopped at any time. So you're not really, yeah, you want to look after those people, but you're not committing to them, and they're not expecting you to commit to them, right?
Mhm.
Whereas, yeah, when you employ someone, you've got to go into that thinking, well, I'm not going to sack them tomorrow. If it will go, you've got to think about, you definitely want them. So I think probably it was because when we started, we weren't doing events; we were just doing the media side. So I think it was probably getting more salespeople in. I think that we built up a sales team because it was just me for a bit, and I was doing all right. But we probably built up, yeah, we built up a sales team about, we went quite rapidly within 2 years to about 5 or 6 people. Some of them quite junior, but just people that were selling in, and there were what you should decide is something blocking you, like your growth, and growth. So everyone's got to grow all the time. It's exhausting, but if something blocking you going to where you want to get to, like you say, if it's community manager, if you feel you're not really being able to social media stuff or promote stuff enough, then yeah, that's the thing you need. Um, and then it's thinking what's the return, what can I what could I achieve extra, or what could I what, will this support itself, I guess. That's always because and that's where sales is an easier thing, where people often hire in early on sales and business development, because salespeople, they bring in money so they cover their salaries, and if they don't, then there's an understanding that if you've not sold anything in 3 months or something, that you're probably not going to be in that job forever. So yeah, but I think you've got to look at what's going to allow you to go to the next stage, and also what you can, make sure you can, you know, support that for a period.
I
Going
think
back
that's
to
well
why you
said, and it makes your mind kind of jog real quick. Like, what can I do? How can I do it? And one thing we talked about in our pre-call, again, going back to the idea of football, is you built multiple brands out at the same time, and I'm not going to say they're unrelated, right? I can tell you, my group of friends, we all talk football, we all talk video games, we all talk movies, but they are core different audiences, right? And how were you able to build multiple brands without kind of diluting yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, initially these were two different companies. So, and for full disclosure, like, I founded, Still Media, and I brought people together to make that happen. Fantasy Football Scout was founded by a friend of mine, and it ran as a thing that wasn't really a commercial thing for a while, and then he wanted to make it a commercial thing, or he wanted to get some investment, and he didn't quite know how to do it, and he actually came to me to ask advice about somebody else that's going to invest in it, wanted to invest in his thing, and whether it was a good deal, and it was a terrible deal. And I said, whatever you do, you shouldn't do that. And this is, it's many years ago, and so I out of that, I ended up putting some money in and working, but that was only very part time. It was, I was, and I became the commercial guy because that was the thing I'm apparently good at now. I became the commercial guy. So the vision was, I can't take the credit for. I can take the credit for growing it, but it was started by someone else. So, but it is difficult, yeah. And those are, at the moment, for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years, those, like, I was, running both those things together. But it goes back to the team again. I mean, it goes back to the teams. Both those companies have incredibly strong central teams. The I could talk about, Sam and Neil and Ian and Tom and many more on on Fans Full Scale, and then they don't move, they just know what they're doing and they love what they're doing. That's the thing I was going to say. Actually, it's important to kind of, you don't have to love your job every day, but I do think it matters that you care about what you do, and it's certainly, whether it matters or not, if you do really care about the thing you're in, you do, it certainly helps, because when you're starting and when you're a small company, everybody has to do a bit of everything. If you're the founder or CEO, whatever, or senior management, hours are going to be pretty, elastic, shall we say? The idea of a 9 to 5, if you're starting a business, is pretty unrealistic. Um, so having that passion, having people around you that love it, is a really, really helpful, and because it just helps you when things are tough. People aren't just there because of the money and disappear for the next money. They're there because they care about the thing, um, and they care about the community around it, and they care about, they want to make it the best they can. Which,
I,
yeah, I don't know. I've gone off on an angle there,
no,
but
but
yeah,
I think
that's
I think you're so right, but I would disagree with it in a little bit. Like, obviously, working in video games for myself, right? I love video games. I was born, raised, loved them, right? And I kind of fell into this. And I speak to a lot of college grads that want to get into the gaming world. I'm
yeah,
just like, don't force yourself into the gaming world, because you're probably going to take a lower salary than you necessarily need to, and it's not always fun. I mean, people thinks working in games is really just fun,
mm.
and it's not. And sometimes it's good to get a better job and fund your gaming hobby or your hobbies, rather than trying to force yourself into an industry
Yeah, no,
where
yeah, I think that's a fair point. I mean, maybe I'm a bit over. Like, not everybody in still media loves video games. To be fair, like our events girls
they
may
should.
play, but I don't think they that particularly bothered, and I don't even know if our creative team is that. But they care about what they're doing, I guess, is the point I meant to say. They care about
Yeah.
the business and what we're trying to build, which happens to be in games. But you're right, absolutely nailed on. Yeah, like video games, like that's the flip side, is that the quickest thing to kill a thing you're passionate about is then to have to do it every day professionally, and to realize that behind the scenes, it's like working in Hollywood or someone, you go in behind and go, well, there's nothing behind here. It's just a
Mhm.
load of equipment and some boxes. It's all facade. There's a lot of hard work that goes into making in games. I've never made a game. Like, I've been on game jams,
That
but
makes two of us.
but I know that I've got a lot of friends that do that, and I know it's a really tough business. It's
It
a really
is,
hard art form.
and it's one of
Most
those
creative.
places where I don't think faking it till you make it works. I think gamers can understand who made this game. Is it a corporation that's in it to make money, or is there
Yeah,
an indie developer behind this that just loves this craft? And I think players or video whatever players are really good at sensing, hey, what is this game here for? Is it a game, or is it here just to monetize the living crap out of me at the end of the day? And I think hopefully the player audience is becoming smarter on how to identify these things.
yeah, and I think we're starting to see that, more and more in terms of the commercial realities. You look at the AAA games that have not hit the marks they expected or flopped totally, and then you look at the games, that have, like Balatro, like Cloud Obscure, it's just absolutely trounced the Game Awards. The things that are, and there's, multiple examples of those smaller companies. They're not like, the team behind that game were not two guys in a basement. It was still had some investment and everything, but it wasn't a AAA corporate production. It was born out of a passion to do stuff. And I think, it's not that they can't get great games out of these big corporate machines. It's not even the people within those big corporate machines don't want to make great games. Those are still people that want to make great games, but it's, yeah, there does seem to be a movement towards kind of smaller
Mhm.
games that are a bit more, feel a bit more kind of real, a bit less manufactured. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's a temporary thing. We all wait and see how GTA gets on, right? That's going to be a big. If
When
that
it comes
falls,
out.
that's going to be a big, big. God knows what that will do for the market. But that would be. But I imagine it won't. I imagine it'll be pretty incredible.
I hope
But
so.
the
I mean, we've been
expectation is
waiting.
big now, right? They've kind of, the problem with it being dragged out is now it just builds how good this is going to be.
It's the
Um,
problem, right? I mean, we've been waiting since the Xbox 360 era for the next GTA, and it's just like, oh my god, it's how can it live up to the hype? That it's
yeah.
I don't know if it's possible, and it could be a great game, but how can it live up to this hype? And And Rockstar makes
It's got to make
magic,
a
so
lot of
I
money
wouldn't bet
as well.
against them.
It's got to make a lot of money, right? And there's a lot of games. I mean, this is the mobile. Every games sector has this problem. Mobile, it's slightly different because they tend to update. It tends to be the same games being updated. It's a slightly different model of merging there. But the number of games on Steam, brand new games come out that just get no attention at all. The supply is vast, and I've got a load of things that I've bought, so they've got money, but I've never played them. I've got my Steam, and I got a Steam Deck that I've barely opened. I think it's an incredible bit of kit, but then I get on a plane. I'm usually going somewhere that I have to prepare for, or I'm reading, or watching a movie, or fall asleep. So like, I'd like to think I'm playing games all that time, but I don't tend not to. And but there is a problem there with oversupply. We can't. There's only so much, and we're competing with TikTok, and we're competing with Netflix, and we're competing with everything else. It was great when we were it was COVID and people had very little to do, and even the TV
I
and film
agree.
companies were struggling to be able to produce new content. Games was loving it then. Games was just go, yeah, well, we can make it remotely. We're all good.
Right? It was
But
the best of times. It was the worst of times.
yeah, yeah. I'm not hoping for another pandemic by any means, but yeah.
Speaking of games, what games are you playing these days?
Yeah, I knew he was going to ask that, and I was thinking. So it's not going to be a very exciting answer, really. I've got stuff lined up to play because I haven't even played Cloud Obscure
Mm,
33 thing yet. Expedition 33, whatever. It's got a long title. Haven't even played that yet, but it is on my I've got to play it list. I tend to play mobile games, which a lot because it fits in with my like lifestyle, like in between meetings on a taxi somewhere, or at home, even in front of the TV at home at night. Right, I don't have to take over the TV, so
mm,
I'm absolutely addicted still to Clash Royale. It's probably the most played game I've got, which is Supercell's game. It's just probably about a decade old now. I've just got to 10,000 trophy crowns, which is I love.
congratulations.
Every time I get there, though, they kind of the rank to be in the kind of the ranked players gets a bit higher. So I'm happy with that. Yeah, Polytopia is another game. I think that's an incredible strategy game. It's a simple. It's a bit like it's a simpler civilization type game. So I played that a lot. I'm gonna try. I'm trying to look now what I'm doing with my son. I played Fortnite for quite a while with my son when he was really into that, and we played. I used to love football games, and I used to really when I was at university. Sensible Soccer. I don't remembers that incredible football game in my university years. It's a long time ago. It's like 20 over 20 years ago. The Amiga again will go above everyone's head, but I love that game. There's a guy called John Hare who made this thing called Sociable Soccer, which he kind of made his own version of it again. He was the guy that made Sensible Soccer, and more recently he did pretty well. But football goes like, but EA Sports FC as it is now, um, I love it, but I find it frustrating that I'm not very good at it anymore. Like I remember being really good at football games, and now I'll go in and I'll be okay against the computer on an okay level, and then I'll go and play some real person, and I'll just get trounced by
Yeah,
like same goal 14 times. And I'll go. "Rrr."
I know that
There's been a
feeling.
couple of game controllers that have, shall we say, come away with a little bit of damage just through frustration. I did a. I should probably say this. I did a. Or what is because my son's teenager, and we were talking about doing a YouTube channel. He wants a YouTube channel. I thought let's do a father and son thing. Or it won't go anywhere, but we can just do it. So we started doing these recordings. I think we started on Twitch because it was with whatever Xbox was compatible with at the time.
Yeah,
And so basically, there's just what it ended up with was us playing FIFA, and it basically being like talking a bit, and then this really angry old man shouting at children as he was getting. But that was it. It's just me shouting and like occasionally dropping the old f bomb, and it was like this is not really probably gonna. I mean, maybe it makes it as great content. And the funniest thing is he clipped up some of it, and him and his friends were sort of sharing it around of me like cursing some kid who just beating me. It was like. So I got some. I don't know what that helps. Anything. Yeah. I don't know. I want to play some more games over Christmas. I think the Game Pass is great. Allowed me to explore some stuff. I really love this things like the Spider-Man games. I used to play. I used to really like GTA. I used to like shooters and stuff like Quake or PUBG and more recently. But yeah, it's probably more that and maybe some even simple puzzles. I kind of got into things like Monopoly Go. I had an addiction to for a while. I had to stop. I had to delete it. I was getting obsessed with it. I was putting some money into it, and I was just like,
really.
and I found myself. like, because it's a really clever loop, and it just, I don't know, it's just, there's something satisfying about it. I guess it's, I don't want to say anything, but maybe it's similar to how when people go in casinos. I don't know, but I got to a point where I was like going, oh, I was going onto Facebook, chatting to people, friends I knew in the industry, and just random people, to see if I could trade with them a token, a picture of a little dog, to complete my collection of dog pictures. And I realized at this point that this something has gone wrong in my life, because it wasn't like that was the end of the game. That was just like one level that you had to get some more dice or some more, And it was like, I've got to stop this. This is not right. But it was a really well made game. I still think it is, but I have to stop doing that. Also, Football Manager, I'm not allowed to touch, because that is a addiction for me. It's a great game, but it's one of those games that you kind of start playing and then you wake up at sort of 2 a.m. with your fingers stuck on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Going, I've got to stop that.
30
So yeah,
years into
I
the
could, I
future,
could
we
talk about
could
other games I've played for ages, but recently, yeah, I think probably more mobile. Like, yeah, I always go back to Bellatro. I've been playing on mobile quite a bit as well. That's since it came
yeah.
out.
You're a big fan of these dopamine games, huh? The ones that could milk you dry.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. Well, also there's a professional interest, like, because I will try and play that whatever's top. I went through playing Pokemon Go when that was the big thing, and not not religiously, but just to get to understand how it works, and what does it look like inside the game now? What is the monetization thing? How's this?
Mhm.
What's the just to stay in touch? I can't play all 100,000 top games, but I can play a few of them and get a gist of it. So yeah. What about you? What are you playing?
Right now, I am playing Fortnite once in a while. I was a big Simpsons fan growing up, and like
I missed
last
the
season,
entire Simpsons thing. I'm so gutted.
uh,
I saw the video because I kept intending to go into that, and it's just gone now, isn't it? It's off.
all gone, which is fine. It had its time, it had its place, which was perfect. I am falling out of love with Fortnite. It's still fun to kind of pick it up. It's no stress and fine, but like my friends get stuck in it. I'm just like, we gotta go do something new. We gotta go do something new.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's just, I love the free to play games, but the problem is there's so many good games out there, and people
Yeah.
are stuck in
Have you
free to play. Like
have you
I
tried
have
Marvel Strike? I tried that a bit.
Mobile Strike.
Marvel Strike.
Oh,
Is it
Marvel. I did no, I did. I did.
That's like
What's
the
the new?
superhero version of Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite has superheroes, but
No,
yeah.
I didn't do Strike. For I did. What's the latest Marvel one that just came out?
Rivals. Is it Rivals? Is that what I meant? Maybe
I
it's
did
Rivals.
Rivals. My son loved
That's
Rivals,
what I
but
meant. Rivals, not Strike's
yeah,
different.
Rivals. We did a little bit of, not too much. I'm not good at team based like that. We've been playing.
You don't want to play with teams. You just want to
Well, I
just.
don't mean. I mean like 5v5. Like I love Battlefield right now. Battlefield's like my true love right now,
Okay,
which is also team based. But my son and I are playing the new Marvel game, the beat 'em up one, Cosmic Invasion.
cool.
So that's been fun, but I haven't played a mobile game in a while. I've actually just did a bunch of podcasts on Second Life, and Second Life I don't know if you remember Second Life
I
from.
remember Second Life. Yeah,
They just released a
we
mobile
had
app.
was the guy that started it. He was like,
Linden Labs, Philip,
yeah, Philip Wolf, is it Wolf? No, something like
Philip
that.
Rosdale, I think.
Rosdale, that's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, Chris
Yeah,
Wolf was the other guy from another thing. Philip
yeah.
Wolf was this guy. Yeah,
Yeah, they
no,
just
he
released.
was. Yeah, he spoke at one of our San Francisco shows. He was an enigmatic guy. He's one of those guys who just like, yeah, he just had something about him. It was.
I want to play Arc Raiders really bad, but I just convinced
Yeah,
my
no, I
friends
do
to
as
play
well.
Battlefield, and
That's definitely on my list for the Christmas break. Is that because that looks great.
there's not enough time in the
And
day.
everyone's very excited. I mean, this is why things like the Games Awards I think are really good, and like people they poke up stuff. I mean, I think award ceremonies have their own problems. That's a whole other topic. But they go, oh, here's the games you have to play because they're
Yeah.
the and it make you kind of try something different. Hopefully, yeah,
So, kind of to wrap things up, what I'd really love to understand, first of all, again, 20 years of Pocket Gamers.
yeah.
Congratulations. What is your plan for the 20th anniversary? Well, what's going on this year? What are you excited about?
I'm gonna drop the mic and burn the whole thing to the ground. It's
Beautiful.
gonna be unexpected for people. People will be allowed to leave. I'm not gonna burn them all in.
That's good.
No.
That's nice.
Yeah, 20th anniversary. We're gonna have we're not, because we've already done 10 years of PGC. I think throughout the year we're gonna have a year of a few bits and pieces going on. But because London has so much to do, we didn't want to add a whole load of extra stress of trying to shoehorn in loads of 20th anniversary. So I think throughout the year we're going to try and do a few kind of anniversary things and get-togethers and parties and stuff. But we're going to make our official party a birthday party. It'll have like cakes and birthday cards and God knows what. Um, but yeah, you know, I don't think we're going to do. There's a lot I want to do and think about retrospective, but again, it's finding time to you know to do this stuff. But yeah, I think what do we want to do? Do you say what we want to do next? Is that the next
Just
part?
what you got going on this year, kind of celebrate on what's
Oh, yeah.
exciting you
So,
about
well,
it.
this year, really, as I say, it's 10 conferences. So 20 years, 10 conferences. If I could do 20 conferences, I would have done them. I would be that, but my team was not. I had to. I had a deal lined up to do another event. There was two potential new locations on top of what we're doing, where there was some partnership which would have made it easier to do, but I was vetoed by my team. Which you have to listen to the people that do the work, because if they all leave, then you have to do it yourself. So but yeah, so yeah, new venues. Like I say, more in Asia. We're in we got Bangkok, Shanghai, and some in Korea. Maybe we'll do something in Vietnam. We're looking at the moment. We've got yeah, we're doing this thing in Helsinki, Barcelona, and London in Europe, and a smaller event in Malmo alongside Nordic. And then we've got we're only San Francisco with the USA. We might try and do something around MIGS as well. We're kind of thinking about that because that's become quite big. And a friend of ours is running that. Um, but then it's the two events in the Middle East. So I don't know, this year I'm just going to try and I'm going to try and enjoy and take it in a bit more and try and I'm actually switching my role a little bit, and I'm going to try and become a little bit more not not involved, but a bit more thinking bigger picture again. You know, because I think we've grown things quite well. That's why we're trying these things like the apps. The apps thing's quite interesting for me because that's a side to games. That's kind of interesting to see whether there's opportunities there that we can extend into that. Because a lot of the same things that work for mobile games work for mobile apps, but then apps is not one cohesive thing. It's not an industry. It's lots of different industries that just happen to use apps. So we're kind of exploring that. Transmedia, I'm very excited about. I like a lot of journalists, you know, frustrated screenwriter or novelist or film writer or whatever. So I like getting involved in that. And our transmedia summit is quite cool. And you know, looking away, we did an event in Helsinki last year, went really well with transmedia. Standing room only actually, with the Helsinki Film Lab, really great people. And I'm looking at yeah, I'm looking at trying to explore new frontiers this year. And so I think we might end up doing more than we've already got. We've got more slated than ever, and it's not impossible we'll end up doing even one or two more things. Also, we're doing an event in the Canary Islands at the end of the year, so it's a second Spanish event, working with the partners in the government out there, which should be kind of our end of year kind of like winter sun thing, which I'm quite excited about. Because like, have you ever like it's have you been to Tenerife or Gran Canaria?
I
Fantastic.
haven't, but my parents have, and they spoke highly of it.
Lovely,
And,
lovely, lovely places. Food's incredible. People are
uh,
lovely, and the weather is like even in like end of the year, it's still much nicer than the UK. I don't know where we go from here. Finally, where we go from here? Yeah, more in Asia, trying to just stay ahead of the industry or up with the industry and try and help continue to help supporting it, continue to help it grow, and also to support you know people coming through. Like as I say a couple of times, it's about the whole ecosystem. It's not just about us making money, and it's not just about a small group we can monetize, blah blah. It's about bringing together everybody, the next generation, the students, the indie devs. They can get inspired and they can make partnerships.
I love it, and I appreciate all that you do. One of my first conferences I remember was Pocket Gamers Seattle, and it was a really cool experience. And I appreciate everything you're doing for the industry. I think it's great to be able to help both people who are experienced to learn more about what's going on, as well as like you're mentioning, students who need to understand how the industry works. So, congrats on 20 years. Thank you so much for being a part of this and being a part of the industry itself. And before we do end today, is there anything you want to share? The mic is yours.
Oh yeah, Pocket Gaming Connects London tickets are available. It will be our biggest event ever. It's our 20th birthday. Come along, join it. It's going to be fantastic. So that's my main thing. That's my main shill and support. But it isn't a shill because I think it's generally brilliant. I'm really proud of that event. So do come and join us, or join our world tour throughout the year, and take part in that. And you know, and if you've got something interesting story to tell, if you've got you know, a new product you're launching, if you want to just get in touch, like you know, we do sell things, but we're also interested in hearing stories. We're always interested in speakers talking about new angles, or you know, if there's ways we can work together, get in touch. We're very open. And we want to help the industry. And if you've got doing some cool stuff in the industry, we want to help you, I guess. Yeah. Also, I think that's it really. I'm looking forward to it. There's this inconvenient thing called Christmas between us and the show, which means we've got to get everything pretty much wrapped up by end of next week. But it's going pretty well so far. We're ahead of last year, and fingers crossed, touch wood, it's gonna be a great show.
We will have links to Pocket Gamers. We'll have links specifically to Pocket Gamers London, to Steel Media, to Chris. I really appreciate you coming here, telling these stories about what you're building, how you built it. I think it's, again, super cool, and I appreciate everything you've done for the industry and are continuing to do. Thanks again for jumping on today.
Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it. Really appreciate it.